Hi everybody, welcome to my latest video. This one is a really good one because I finally, at long last, get the stone sink installed and I really love it. So watch until the end to see that. Plus I push on with a little bit more carpentry on the front of the counter as well, and I think it's looking really good so far. I start the video off braving the elements to do a little bit of outside work, and then Sinead, Bex, and Elle and I head to Spain to take a course in a food that I have never really heard about anyone eating before, but apparently it's a superfood and I learned loads of stuff. So that was fun. It was nice to get over to Spain for a little while and have a little bit of an explore and learn some stuff. So the video is packed with lots of different things, culminating in the stone sink. So have a watch. I hope you enjoy the video. If you do, please give it a like, and I'll see you guys at the end of the video. Good afternoon, folks. It's about 1 p.m. and this is the state of things out here. I was really expecting this cloud to lift. It definitely wasn't in the forecast, but here's where we are. Unfortunately, I still have some juice left in my solar system. And that's good news because my plan for today is to mostly be inside working on the window. The little porthole window has looked very ugly for a long time, and it's time to finally put a frame around the outside of it and then put a little door on it as well. So that's going to be a fun project. But before I get to that, I feel like I want to do a little bit of Tracy rescue. The baby Tracy trumpet plants are currently sitting in some water trying to form roots. I pruned these off a while ago and I don't know exactly what's going on there. It looks like we've got some evidence of roots trying to form, perhaps. Perhaps I'm imagining that. But the reason I want to get it out of the bucket and into some soil is because some buckets of water froze over the other day and I feel like they're not going to like sitting in freezing cold water. So this is the original mother, and I think she's kind of struggling with the weather as well. It has been unusually cold this year and she's a fighter, but she's not looking as happy as she has in the past. But this guy's looking happy. He's just been a ham for the camera lately. He's just always around. Are you trying to go inside? Oops. Do you want to go into the warmth? Come on. Come on. Let's go. There you go. Get inside. I know. I'd rather be out there in there as well. So my goal for today, for this morning, out in this cold weather, is to put these Tracy's into these pots and get them nice and cozy in some soil. And also get rid of these guys, which definitely like to have a little munch on the Tracy trumpet plants. So I've got some work ahead of me this morning. Hopefully it's going to warm me up because it's pretty ridiculous out here. So I don't usually work in a winter jacket and a scarf. Normally, in this kind of weather, I'd be hiding in, cozy by the fire, avoiding the reality of the freezing cold outdoors. But I have Tracy babies to think of, and so here I am, against my will. But it's a job I've been meaning to do for ages and just haven't gotten to, so I'll be happy to cross it off my list. And I feel like maybe it'll warm me up a little bit. So these are horse poo pellets. They're basically, I guess, a fertilizer. And I like to mix them in with some, well, I like to use my own compost usually, but it is not the season for compost. I usually just end up with a big batch of compost in the summer. I don't really do much composting, hot composting in the winter, so it doesn't really turn into compost. It has to. You know what? I actually don't know much about compost, so I'm going to stop talking. But basically, I'll use a store-bought bag of compost for the moment. horseshoe pellets, and then I like to mix in a bit of sand for drainage as well. And I definitely have more than I can use for Tracy Crumpet babies, but I'm picking up some strawberries from a friend later on. I think she's moving away, and I'll use the leftover soil to repot those as well. So I'm surprised at how good these are actually looking in the water. So I think what I'll do is put 4 of the best looking ones into the soil, and I'll leave the rest in the water just as a comparison, as an experiment. Plus I only have 4 pots available right now, so Tracy can head back into the polytunnel, which would definitely benefit from a door, but the doors on these things are always the first to go, so it doesn't zip anymore. But I feel like it's fine. But these guys aren't looking so good, so I've got my kale and the coriander. They were living in my windowsill for a while. I moved them out here for some more light, but they look sad. And these ones that are tucked in further inside the polytunnel look a little better. So, you know, perhaps this has been a failed experiment and a waste of time, but I would like to get these into the garden, into the soil, as soon as possible. I just don't want to do it today because it's too cold. Another thing I wanted to point out is my curry leaf tree. I got this from a friend, and she told me that it definitely needs to be inside in the winter. So I might top this up with a bit more soil and keep this a little further back in the polytunnel to see if it'll survive, because curry leaf is an ingredient found in Indian cooking, and I always love to grow things that I can't easily buy at the shops. And then over here, while we're doing a little tour of the sad plants, I've got the bananas. They're not looking so good, so perhaps as I start to work through this firewood pile, I might move those in the polytunnel as well, or just try to make some space, because I've never seen them looking so sad, and they do basically live outside in all the winters, but this has been particularly cold, as I mentioned. So, Tracy, it's time for some soil. Okay, the baby Tracies have been repotted. That's number 1. Number 2, number 3, around the corner, tucked inside the polytunnel greenhouse. Number 4, this is the one that's been outside. It's not looking so good. I've got the experimental water Tracies in there still. I have the curry leaf plant, tree, whatever, topped up with some more soil, and I've moved the sad looking bananas back inside and topped those up with soil and fertilizer as well. I also have this set up for work on the window of my front door, which we'll do on another day, I think. And then I've got these plants as well, which need to go in the soil. So I think what I'll do is wheel them back into the comfort of the greenhouse polytunnel and plant them another day when it's not so cold. So I've got stuff to do inside. I'm going to head back in, have some lunch, and I'll see you again soon. Welcome back, guys. Just listen to that sizzle. It's actually a couple days since last I saw you, and I've been up to something fun in Spain, which I'll tell you about in a minute. But first, this is the lovely butternut squash that I grew accidentally in my garden. So that's in there roasting with a bunch of spices, because today is yet another gloomy day, and it feels like a soup day. I'm saving the seeds, so I'll stick those in the garden in the spring. And I've brought out some dried figs, because I'm going to do something that I think will be really interesting with these, and rather experimental as well. But before we get into the secret fig operation, I wanted to tell you about my weekend. Sinead, Bex, Al, and I went to Spain to take a course in acorns. Apparently acorns are a superfood, and there's lots of stuff that you can do with them, including fermenting. And it was a combo of info about acorns and a lot of info about fermenting as well. And it was really fun. The guy who led it was fantastic. And I'll put the details below in case anyone's interested in knowing more about the courses he runs. But he was super informative, and I learned a lot and got to taste lots of really tasty things as well, made from acorns, including an acorn and other nut pate, which I'm definitely going to try to make. And yeah, learned about fermenting acorns and how to take the bitterness away so you can use them in a variety of dishes. One of the things he also taught us how to do was make a fizzy drink out of dried fruit in general, but in this case it was dried figs. And so I have loads of dried figs from the summer, and I'm gonna stick them in some water and see if I can make a delicious carbonated drink. But before I get to the figgy fun, I wanted to talk more about Spain. It's only about a 45-minute drive away to the border, and to get to the course it was about an hour and 15 minutes. And it's really beautiful over there. I don't know why we don't go more often. We ended up going on a really nice hike and then settled into a beautiful Airbnb in a tiny village. We went to a local cocktail bar, which made some crazy cocktails for us, which I actually would not recommend. Definitely going to stick to the mojito next time. But the atmosphere was really great. The bartender was very friendly, and it was a lovely start to the evening. We then rolled on to a local restaurant and had an absolutely fantastic meal. And it just really is quite interesting to see the difference in the buzziness of Spain versus Portugal. Everything was really, really lively, and it's not something you generally see in Portugal. People are a bit more subdued. So yeah, it was interesting to see the contrast, and it was a fun time, and it's left us wondering why we don't go over there more. Just for the food alone, it was a fantastic meal that we had that evening, and we all love being in Portugal. We love the Portuguese, but it's nice to hop across the border when the country is really so close and has a lot of stuff to offer that we can't get here in Portugal. So it was a fabulous trip, but now it's time to make some fizzy fig stuff. Okay, so this is 2.5 liters of water from the local spring. This is 250 grams of figs that I dried at the end of the summer. And it's just as easy as sticking the figs into the water and stirring them up, I think once a day or maybe twice a day, until they're all floating. It should take about 72 hours, I think. And yeah, when it's ready, they'll float. And basically you just, I'll give it a stir in a minute. I didn't bring a spoon out. But you seal it up and yeah, wait basically. So that's pretty easy. And then once that's done, you put it in some carbonated bottles in the fridge, and you have apparently a fizzy fig beverage. So that's pretty exciting and super easy. So I'm going to update you on how this goes. Apparently you can make this concoction with any kind of dried fruits, and with Sinead's dehydrator and lots of fruits around, we're going to experiment. You can do it with grapes. I'm going to try it, I think, with lemons, and it was really delicious. You could also add herbs and things, other juices and stuff into it at this stage, and it just obviously changes the flavor. But the one we had was pure, sparkly, fizzy fig juice, or whatever it was, carbonated fig drink, and it was really amazing. So I'm looking forward to trying this in a few days. But even though fizzy fig drinks are incredibly exciting, I know most of you out there are looking very forward to me moving on with work on the sink and the bathroom. And luckily, the drain has arrived, so I can finally get the stone sink attached, and hopefully by the end of today, I'll be able to use the tap. Okay, I've done a bit of tidying. Sorry about the lighting in here, it's a bit bad. We'll try to explain what I'm up to. I've got the drill for making the hole. I've got the silicone for sealing around it. I'm also going to mount the sink onto the wood with the silicone. Might be a horrible idea, I don't know. I have some sandpaper to get rid of the lines there because I've changed the location of the sink. And I changed the location of the sink due to the fact that the exit part's over there and the drain kind of needs to go over a little bit farther, so I don't have to struggle to get the pipe over there. And I also wanted to tell you the difference between these two drains. This one came with a tap. This tap is not the type of tap you want for this kind of sink, which I realize now. There's longer taps that come for vessel sinks, but lesson learned. It's my first ever sink. And this is designed for just a regular sink, and regular sinks generally have an overflow, and that's what that hole is there. So had I used this thing, not really knowing what the hole was for, water would have gone everywhere. So instead I bought another one online, specifically for vessel sinks, and it feels a lot sturdier. It's made of metal and brass, I think, on the inside. So I'm really happy with this. And when we went on our little jaunt to Spain, I encountered a vessel sink, and I was really curious about what was happening underneath. And when I looked beneath the sink, they'd actually cut out quite a big space. So it wasn't just a circle for the drain, it went a lot wider. And I really was wondering what the reason was that I had to make just a circle, because if I do a larger hole, it just gives me a lot more wiggle room with this thing, which I think could possibly be too short. The one advantage for just making a circle and clamping everything onto the counter as well is that the sink is going to stay in place more sturdily. But this thing is super heavy. It's not going anywhere. So what I'm going to do for the hole is mark it out like so. And then I'm going to cut a larger hole out around that. It also means that if any water does get through here somehow, it's just going to leak directly below rather than kind of leaking onto the counter or going into the wood somehow. So that's what I'm going to do. I've got a lot of work ahead of me. Let's get started. So this is one disadvantage to linseed oiling all of this first before I really decided on where the sink was going. As I sand this, it's not really coming off quite as easily as had it not already been oiled. And I'll probably have to come over it again with a finer grit as well and re-linseed oil everything, but lesson learned again. Okay, so this is a fairly nerve-wracking operation. Actually, let me get the little hat back on this guy to protect him from any scratches. Anytime you're cutting through a piece of wood that is fixed in place already, yeah, it's making me nervous, and I'm definitely not doing things the right way. I'm probably doing things totally the wrong way, but I'm encouraged by the sink that I saw when we were on our little vacation in Spain. So I feel like in my head this is going to work. And the reason I'm going so big with the hole is because I want to be able to get the vice grips underneath there and crank little nuts so that I can tighten everything up really, really nicely against the sink. So that's the method to the madness. And the reason I'm using this instead of, I'm not going to be using a jigsaw is because I don't have a jigsaw blade that I trust to go through wood this thick. So I'll do a bunch of holes, and then I'll come back at it with, I don't know, something else, and figure it out at the time. So wish me luck on this one, guys, because I'm a bit nervous. So I don't know if this blade, this bit is really that sharp. It's taking a while to get through, but with a bit of patience, I'll get there. So as you can see, I've changed out the bit. That other one wasn't really working for me, so I'm just trying to Swiss cheese the whole thing, make some holes, trying to rack it back and forth. It's very unorthodox, I'll give you that, but it seems to be working. So that's looking kind of okay. Things are looking super crazy under here. And I'm going to tap it with this hammer and see what happens. Nothing has happened. So, what's my plan? I think I have a saw that could do the trick, and it's new. And this is that saw. It's a little intricate, very sharp saw that was on my Amazon wish list. And it was sent to me by someone called Deirdre. So thanks very much for that. And unfortunately, Amazon doesn't always send a little card with the wish list gifts. And there's no way of finding out who actually sends things or finding out their contact details. So for anyone out there who sent me anything off of the Amazon wish list, a big thanks. There were a few people over the Christmas holidays. If I haven't reached out, I apologize. I just don't have any way of doing it that I can find. If anyone knows how to figure this thing out in the system, how to find out who sent things to me, I would love to know, but I cannot for the life of me see that information anywhere. So I've got this sharp saw. This is the first time I'm going to use it, and I think it's going to be perfect for this job. Okay, let's see if I can get this thing out. The saw is definitely very sharp, but it's a little bit of an awkward cut. So, might take a bit of time, but I think this is the tool for the job. Let's see if this works. It's stubborn. Okay, that side's done. That side's done. It's just the front part now. This spot is a little tricky because the camera is in the way of the angle. So, one moment please. Let's just move this over here. And hopefully that will allow me to get in. Yeah, I can tell it's almost out. Let's do a little batchy bash with a hammer. Oops. Ah, so satisfying. This thing is great. You can tell it's really sharp. It just didn't have a lot of space to kind of maneuver. So maybe not the best tool for the task, but it definitely is going to be very handy in the future. So thanks again. So it's definitely not pretty. It's looking super raggedy, but I've got the handy dandy wood rasp. So I'm going to see if I can clean the edges up a bit and then finally get this sink installed. I guess since this thing is actually under the sink, it doesn't need to look too amazing, but I would like to get rid of some of the splintery bits at least, and make it look a little bit better. Or maybe it's just completely unnecessary. I don't know. I don't think I have it in me to leave it like this. So I'll clean it up a little anyway and not spend too much time on it. Oil it and then get the sink on. So I've tidied up this sinkhole thing quite a bit, and I'm happy with it because no one's gonna see it. It does look still pretty terrible, but you know, I did what I could with the tools that I had. And I have this stuff here, which is silicone, and I really get nervous about using chemical stuff in jars or in tubes because I'm not used to it, and it always makes me nervous. So the internet has told me I can use silicone to affix the sink to the wood and then seal it off as well. And because, as I mentioned, the sink is so heavy, I'm not worried about it going anywhere, so I think the silicone will be fine. But it does say I should have a clean and dry surface, so since I've just stuck a load of linseed oil around this part, and I'm going to be putting silicone here to seal it off there, I might as well just put one more coat on the whole thing and come back to this tomorrow to finally put the sink in place. So I'm just going to keep at this, finish this off, and I'll see you guys tomorrow for sink installation. And I don't know if you're excited. I know I am, so I'll see you then. Okay guys, I'm back. Everything is linseed oiled and dried. I don't know if I'm supposed to put silicone on linseed oil. Who knows, but hopefully it's fine. As I mentioned, the sink is super heavy and won't be going anywhere. So it's completely garbage outside today and raining, and I'm in a race against time for my solar system because it's not bringing much in. So perhaps the lights will go out at some point. Who knows? What I decided to do is figure out the drain while the sink is not in place. It'll probably just be easier to access, and then put it in. I've got it propped on these handy blocks, and then I'll put some silicone down and just place the whole thing into its location once I figure out whether or not the drain's actually working. So I've never used one of these before. It's pretty handy. It looks nice, fits well. So I'll get it in and see how I go. I don't know if I need the plumber's putty that I was talking about maybe in the last video, because it's got this seal here. Hopefully not, because I don't have any, but somebody also recommended I could possibly use silicone. So anyway, I'm gonna put it in, fill this with water, and see what happens. Okay, so hopefully this is as straightforward as it seems. This one did not come with any instructions, but it doesn't seem like the kind of thing that should need instructions, but that could just be famous last words. So I'm guessing take the bottom off, plop it in, and stick the bottom back on, and then I'll be done. Could it be that easy? This seems a little loose there, so I don't know if that's good or bad, but I'll find out soon enough. This thing is ridiculously heavy. Let's try to get it outside. And try not to drop it on anything, that would be tragic. So that's just tightened by hand. I'm gonna fill this with some water and see what it does. Okay, I'm back. It's been about maybe an hour and a half. I filled the sink up right to the top just to put more pressure on the drain. And happily, there is no sign of any leaking in this pan. And that's with only tightening it with my hands. So I'll get the vice grips on there, tighten it up a little bit more. But that is incredibly impressive. So now I'm curious to see what happens when I push the drain, how quickly it drains out, and whether it floods the place. Amazing! I love this thing. It works as it should. Never thought I'd be so impressed with a freaking sink, but there you go. So, it's finally time to stick this thing onto there. So it's kind of awkward trying to get in here, but I think it'll be easier to tighten it before I actually install it. I was pretty impressed that it didn't leak, I gotta say. But if I can get it just a bit tighter, that's always gonna be better. That'll do. So while I was testing the waterproofness of the drain by just filling it up and waiting, I decided to check out some YouTube videos and actually see how one might install a vessel sink using silicone. And fortunately, it kind of matches up with what I was going to do anyway. So that's always very reassuring, especially when you haven't done something before. And it is a reminder that a lot of building stuff is pretty common sense stuff. There's all kinds of things that are, you know, a lot more difficult, but for most things that the average DIYer is going to tackle, I find that common sense really gets you a long way, and this is the case as well. So I've never used this product before, which always makes me a little apprehensive, but hopefully it all goes to plan. So I'm going to use this stuff, which was recommended by the guy in the shop, and the internet has said to stick this onto the bottom of the sink, but because the sink is so incredibly heavy, I don't like the idea of having to manhandle it and then turn it back upside down to get it in place and then wiggling it around. So what I'll do instead is I've got this line and I'm going to put a bead of silicone around there, sort of guessing at the back because I wasn't able to draw a line, but I think I can manage it. And then put another bead here, and then according to the internet, that should do it. If I need to in the future, maybe I'll run another bead along the front, wherever I can reach it. But yeah, seems pretty straightforward. My biggest concern is that I don't have enough in this tube to do the job. And I'm also not really sure how to open this because this is super hard plastic. So I'll try it with this and then see how we go. And so I also want to put some silicone kind of on the interior of the sink as well, just to stick it on a bit better because there is a little bit of a wobble. I don't know if it's the bottom of the sink or more likely it's the counter. So I'm hoping having a bit of silicone for it all to sit on is going to mean that it's not going to wobble around. Although, like I said, this thing is super heavy, so it doesn't really want to wobble at all unless I kind of push on it in a certain way. But once it's on for good, hopefully, so I might as well. God, this stuff's really hard to squeeze out. I obviously could have used a silicone tube in a gun, but I find that those things are really tough for me to use. I can never get them to squeeze out properly, and they're kind of unruly, so I went with a tube, but it's proving difficult as well. Anyway, looks like this thing has a lot of silicone to sit on. Hopefully water doesn't get under here. And now it's time to finally get this thing into place. It's definitely heavy. All right, so here we go. This is going to be very, very tricky, possibly very messy. It's kind of hard to tell because I don't really... Oh, there we go, the line's there. Okay. So I can see that I've missed the back part. I've got the angle wrong, so let me see if I can lift this back up. Probably not. There we go. And shiggle it over. And there we go. Whew! Honestly, these things are very heavy. I'm pretty happy that I ended up getting the much thicker piece of wood for the counter. So yeah, I think that looks really good. And as I said, I don't know if I need to put an extra bead around the bottom of the outside. If I do find that water splashing everywhere, I will. but I think having the seal under there on the bottom will be fine. Anyway, it's a decision I can make later on. For now, I think this is great. I love how it looks. And yeah, finally, I have a sink in place at long last. So I've got some work to do on the doors. I made a mistake earlier, a couple days ago, and I forgot to add 2 of these pieces. One needs to go here and one needs to go in here. I guess I just got a little carried away adding the slats on. So I'm gonna do this off camera. And then when I return, I'm gonna try to sand the bottoms and even things out and possibly get these 2 other slats on as well, and possibly the one on the end. I don't wanna do these ones by the hinges until I actually get the hinges in place. Until I get the hinges delivered, and I'm waiting on those. They should come in a few days. But if I can get most of this done today, that'll be fantastic. I love it. I absolutely love it. I'm back, and I've been working really hard at the front of the countertop. I got a bit carried away and ended up adding all of the slats except for one. This piece needs to be trimmed down a bit to fit. So that's going to take more attention, and I'll do it later. The hinges are due to arrive tomorrow, so I'll probably wait until I get those. Right now, I'm focused on trying to make the bottoms even, and I don't know if it's going to work, but my plan is to use the orbital sander to just wear away at everything until it's all the same level. Using the angle grinder with a sanding bit could also be an option, but I feel like it's going to be a little bit too aggressive for this structure. So I'll try it with the orbital sander, and I'm really hoping it works because it's the final step for the moment, and I'm really ready to be out of this bathroom corner and to move on to something else. So let's give it a go. So this is going way better than I expected. It's actually working really well to also even out the fronts of the slats and make everything look a lot smoother. So yay, orbital sander. So I'm gonna work at getting off the pencil marks and sanding things down so everything is more even, get everything sanded with a finer grit of paper so it's all looking smooth and pretty, and I'll check in again when that's all done. Okay guys, I've done some sanding. I only took it to 100 grit. I'll make it more smooth later on when I have a bit more time. But the bottoms are mostly even, and the slats are a lot smoother than they were. And honestly, this has worked out far better than I would have expected. But I still have one more thing to do in here before I can get everything functional. I have to attach this part to the outlet pipe there, and I need to go to the shop to do that. But I have this handy dandy pot in the meantime. So let's test this thing out and see how it all works. Let's start with the plug. All right. Ah, lovely. I love this thing. I'm so happy with how this is all turned out, as I've mentioned probably 3 times in this video. So mission accomplished, the sink is in, and it's been a real fun project to work on. I've enjoyed the whole process, and I feel like I've learned loads of stuff along the way as well. I'm really happy with the stone sink that I got. I think it looks great. Again, as I've mentioned a million times already. And the counter is shaping up way better than I thought it would. So yeah, I'm really pleased with this project, but I did promise early on in the video at the beginning that I was going to be working on the window frame for the inside of my door. And I haven't started that obviously, but that's my next project. So hopefully that goes as well as this does. I'm gonna be using these same sorts of slat pieces to match with what I already have on the door, and this has given me some confidence that it's all gonna work as planned. So it's been a busy video with a few different things, a trip to Spain, some stuff outside, and yeah, I've really enjoyed the work in this one. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, please give it a like. If you haven't subscribed already, please do subscribe. I also think there's something new on YouTube called a hype, which I don't know anything about, but if that's something you know about and want to give my video a hype, it's much appreciated. I have no idea what it does, but it can only be good. It sounds like a good thing to hype a video. So that's all from me from this one. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you in the next video.